Hi guys, it's Story from By Grace 3.78 Ministries. As I mentioned previously in another video, I am going to start talking to you about some of the things that God has gotten me through. And one of them is healing. God is still in the miracle business. He is still healing his children today. So one of the things that I was healed from was chronic migraines. I had chronic migraines from the time I was 13 years old until 3 years ago. So 39 years old, 4 years ago, 38 years old. It's a very long time to suffer from chronic migraines. I had saw a lot of specialists about them. I had so many MRIs, MRAs, CT scans, tried so many medications for migraines. Each one of them backfired. I am a medical mystery, as doctors love to tell me, as they think they can be the one to solve me and never are. And they always admit by the end of the road, okay, you're a medical mystery. We don't know what to do with you, pretty much. And my reaction to the medication was always the 1 in a million reaction. It's not even listed on the bottle. So I'd always have to stop them. We did finally find a procedure that I could do for the chronic migraines in my late 20s, around 30, and that was trigger point injections. So the neurologist I would see would concoct a mixture of, I can't remember what was in it, but it's Botox and steroids, I believe. And I would get anywhere from 45 to 60 injections every month or two. And I did that for many years. And that was the only way that I could go and not have a crippling migraine every day. Most times people couldn't tell I had a migraine because I made up my mind very early in my teenage years that my headaches were not going to hold me back. They were not going to hold me down. There were times, though, that they did. I would see stars, get sick. My husband had to take me to the ER quite a few times with migraines. The typical chronic migraines symptoms, getting sick, throwing up, fever, all the kind of things. And that went on for a very long time. Then I started hearing a pastor's wife in Virginia, who's also a teacher. She is amazing. Her name is Wanda. She is on YouTube and other social media platforms. She taught me so much. And she started talking about something that other people call it different things, but they call it spiritual healing, deliverance. It's all kinds of different names, same exact thing. Well, I kind of thought, this is crazy. I don't believe this. This was several years ago. I'd heard about it. And I didn't believe it. I really did not believe it. And finally, I heard somebody else talking about it. His name is Praying Medic. He was teaching about spiritual healing and has a book about it that's amazing. And I was reading his book, and it was talking about how a lot of our ailments are from traumas. And I was like, okay, well, I don't really know that I still believe this. But I started praying into it. God, is this real? Is this a thing? For a while, it was pretty silent, but I believe that's because my heart was still hardened. So I started reading in the scripture where Jesus was healing people. I started really thinking, okay, I believe in the Bible. I believe in everything in the Bible is accurate. So I threw up my hands one night and said, God, if this is real, prove it to me. Prove it. Y'all, thank God. Thank God. He is not intimidated by us. And he knew my heart was pure. God, if this is real and this is you, prove it to me, please. I need to know that this is real. And he did. He took me back to a memory that I will talk about possibly later. But that proved to me that spiritual healing is real. And later on, I started praying, God, is migraines something from me or is it from a trauma? And immediately in my head, I had the thought of my birth mother. And I said, nope, brakes. Like, not just tap the brakes, like slam the brakes, throw the emergency brake on. Car's going nowhere. Nope, I'm not ready to touch that one yet. Not doing it. A year goes by and my migraines are so bad, so bad. I would eat Excedrins daily like they were candy, but it kept me going. And I got really sick at work one day with a migraine. And I said, okay, God, okay. I'm tapping out. I give up. If spiritual healing is real, like I know it is, and I know the Bible says that you know the plans you have for me. They are not to harm me. They are to prosper me. Your word says that you will never leave me. You will never forsake me. My birth mother is not a conversation I would have lightly. And it was not one that I would discuss often with a lot of different people. I had to know you. And if I didn't know you, I let you in so deep, not, it was a certain level. And I was like, okay, I'm tapping out. Get me home and we will discuss this situation with my birth mom. I should not have driven that car that day. Stars were so bad. It was just like shoop, 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 shoop. I was shaking. I was very, very pale from how bad my head was hurting. I got in the car and I seriously said, God, if you will get me home, I will allow you to take me back to whatever memory you want to take me back to. And I got home, no trouble. I don't even think I got stopped by a red light. And I pulled in the driveway and I parked the car and I just started sobbing because I didn't want to go through whatever he was going to remind me of. So I get out of the car and I go up to the steps into my house and I sit down outside on the steps and I'm just sobbing. And I said, okay, Daddy, I give you permission, take me back. Boom. I was no longer 38 years old sitting on the porch of my house. I was taken back and I was reliving a memory of when I was 13 years old. My birth mom was in and out of my life whenever it was most convenient for her. She was never around for long, okay? But of course, I worshiped the ground she walked on. She was my mother, She was a saint, even though I didn't really know much about her. And I said, take me back. And he took me back to when I was 13 years old. And I was standing in my bedroom that I grew up in. And I'd come home and I picked up my phone. And at the time, guys, we didn't have cellular phones back then. We had corded phones, but we did have buttons that you could push. And I dialed my birth mother's phone number. And it said, doo-doo-doo. This number has been disconnected. If you feel like this is an error, please hang up and try your call again. And the line would go dead. And I stopped dead in my tracks and said she did it again. She disappeared again. And I hit the floor. And I crumbled. Because at that point, it was the longest that she had been consistent. It had been about a month that I could talk to her anytime I wanted. And she was there to answer the phone. My heart shattered that day. It was done. And I went into a major round of depression. And that's when the migraines started. And I didn't tell anybody for probably a year or so that I was having migraines because I didn't understand what they were. No one in my family had headaches, so I didn't know what was going on. I started having the migraines. I stopped eating. I was in drumline at the time in high school, and this was the summer before my freshman year. So I was in drumline. We were getting ready for our marching band competitions and drumline competitions, which what kept me breathing, kept me going was drumline. And I also couldn't read music, and no one knew that. That was a law you did not break. You had to know how to read music to be in the band, to be in the marching band, and to be in drumline. And so it was very secretive that I could not read music. So I had to learn the one time the drum instructor played everybody's part, I had to know what was my part and memorize it instantly. And so my whole summer that happened, I focused on drumline, and I didn't stop, because if I stopped, I thought about her. If I stopped and people ask questions, well, hey, how's she doing? How is it like talking to her again? Where's she at? What's she doing? So I didn't stop. While everyone else broke, I kept playing. When everyone else went to lunch, I kept playing. Well, that led to bulimia and a battle that you can't imagine. The battle that I fought with the migraines, the depression, the bulimia, acting normal so that nobody would know, because if they knew, they asked questions. So all of that replayed in that moment. And when I came back to my steps in real life moment, I just said, God, I don't want this anymore. I give it to you. I give it to you. The sudden urge to throw up hit me so strong. I bolted down my stairs and into the grass, hit my knees, and I just started vomiting. And I sat there and sobbed and said, God, I give it to you. I forgive her. I forgive her. But then I said, but she told me she never changed her number. I don't understand. And instantly I had a vision. Again, instant. It was me back in the phone room, and I had one of those clear phones with the cord, and when it rang, the whole room would light up orange. So it was one of the awesome, cool phones that my daddy had gotten me. And I saw myself, I watched myself in my bedroom holding that phone and hearing that message. But this time, I saw an angel standing between me and the receiver. And he said, she did not change her number. She did not lie to you. I blocked you from reaching her that day. Which that led to another round of sobbing. And he said, I had to. It would have destroyed who you are today. And I sat up when he said that, and it wasn't audible, it was thoughts coming through my mind. And when he said that, I sat up and I said, you're right. It would have. Because in that point in my life, I wanted her more than I wanted my loyal, never abandoning father. If my birth mother would have come back into my life and came to Mebane and said, I want you, do you want to live with me? Oh, I'd have bolted, because I wanted my mama. You know, it didn't matter that who I call mama now, she was already in my life at this point, and a godsend. These people were good to me. They were faithful. They never left my side. They, to this day, have never left my side. If I call up my parents today and say, Daddy, Mama, I need you, It doesn't matter if they would be 12 hours away. They would be at my doorstep. They would in no time. They adore me, but I would have left them for her. Guys, she was not where I needed to be. She was Miss Budweiser one year. She was a partier. She bartended. She was always hopping to a different bar, being a bartender. Big into drugs, big into witchcraft, sleeping around with different men all the time. This is stuff that she was bragging to me about at 13. She bragged about this way before I even turned 13. Guys, do you have any idea where I would have been? Because there is no telling where I would have even lived. So when Abba said, I blocked that, all of that was like, boom. And I was like, you're right. There's no telling where I would have been. I give it to you. I surrender it to you. That abandonment, that brokenhearted, that disappointment, I give it to you. When I said that last word, it was like something just went whoosh. That migraine vaporized. In a second, it was gone. That was in 2000. That was June of 2022. We are now May of 2026. There's only been one time I've had a migraine since then. And that was because I had meningitis. I didn't know it. By the time I finally went to the doctor, it was bad. I was in really bad shape. I can get a little headache every now and then, but guess what? I can take a Tylenol and it'll go away. So if you have an ailment like that, if you have migraines, ask the Father, are my migraines from a trauma, or is there a chemical imbalance? There's something going on in my body, especially when everything you're doing is failing that the doctors are telling you to do. If everything is failing like it was for me, ask him, is this something that is trauma caused? Guys, if I didn't believe it, would I be making this recording and putting this on social media for the world to see? No. Do you know how long it took me to make this video? That happened in June of 2022. It's now May of 2026. Need I remind you, that long. That is how much I know this is real. God still heals. He still loves us just as much today as he did all the way back in the very beginning of creation. He says he does not change. God is faithful. If he healed me from chronic migraines, why won't he heal you? I'm no different than you are. He loves me just as much as he loves you. Jesus saves. Jesus heals. Jesus is the way to the Father. Miracles still happen today. I know this video is so much longer than normal, but I really wanted to get this out there. And in order to prove it to you, I needed to give you some backstory. I had to give that to you. God still heals. And there's been other things that he's healed me from already that I'll get into in other videos, and other traumas that that didn't produce physical ailments, but they were traumas that if I saw certain people, I freaked out. And I've been through the deliverance with those until where now I can be around those people and everything is great. And I feel nothing awful whatsoever. I actually see them as a victim now. But God is amazing. He is so good. Every time I sit down and I just think about those things, and I think about memories that I have allowed him to take me back to. And then at the end of it, it's hard. Being healed of something is not always easy. Because you have to be willing to say, okay, take me back. Take me back. And I will give it to you. You have to be willing to say that. And that's not easy. But the reward is so worthy. I had already been healed of other things, and it still took me a year to allow him to take me back to her. because that one was so deeply rooted. When your birth mother abandons you and does not want you, gives you away at 1 year old because she didn't want to be a mother, you know, tells awful things to have you put in foster care because she doesn't want to be a mother. Guys, there is a lot of pain I had with my birth mother. And I kept saying, I forgive, I forgive, I forgive, I forgive. I had a relationship with her. But I hadn't really gotten over the abandonment until I said, take me back, Daddy. Take me back. After that, I could truly have a conversation with her, and there was no resentment. There was no resentment, and there was no pedestal. I truly, honestly, for me, she was just an acquaintance after that. There was boundaries, but I had to have boundaries because she was still a practicing witch. And I am not. I'm a Christian. But every time I talk to her, I preach the gospel. My mission, when we did speak, which was rare, was to talk about Jesus. I didn't hound her. I didn't throw the Bible at her. But when she would ask me how life was going, I'd tell her. And I'd tell her how blessed I was and how good I was doing, because the lifestyles we were living were night and day doesn't even begin to describe it. The agony this woman had lived from health issues, mental issues alone. This woman lived a rough life because of her lifestyle. I implore you, ask Jesus, do you need to be healed of something? Give him permission to take you back, and then say, I give it to you. I forgive them. I release it at your feet. That is what it means to take it to the cross. You take it and you drop it off, hands free. You don't pick it back up. And it makes you feel so much lighter. So that is the recounting of me being delivered from chronic migraines. We'll get to something a little bit later. If you need a Bible, please reach out to bygrace3.78@gmail.com. I'll be more than happy to email you a Bible. If you need prayer requests, please email me again at bygrace3.78@gmail.com. Until next time, I love you.